What's up, everyone? Riley here, and welcome back to Heavy Loads, where today I'm going to be talking about some band history. This is one of my favorite bands, and before this and all of my research here, I knew nothing about them personally. So I just want to share that with you. Let's get into it with Acid Bath. So it's the early 90s, and Acid Bath creeps out of southern Louisiana. These guys are from little towns like Houma. They are true Bayou boys. When the band was getting together, we had Sammy Douay, who was on guitars, and Audie Pitry were part of a band called Dark Carnival. They ended up mashing together with Dax Riggs, who was our vocalist, Mike Sanchez, who was the other guitarist, and Jimmy Kyle, who were part of a band called Golgotha. And originally, Acid Bath's name was actually Golgotha, but then they were like, fuck, there's 100 other bands with this name. So they changed the name to Acid Bath. And in 1993, they put out their first demo, Hymns of the Needle Freak. And right off the bat, they were like, we might as well send this out to a few record labels and try and score a fucking deal. And pretty quick, they hear back from Century Media. At the time, I Hate God, who they were friends with the New Orleans, Louisiana metal scene, were signed to Century Media. So Acid Bath hits them up and they go, hey, how are you feeling about your deal with Century? And I Hate God literally said to them, we're not having a good time, wouldn't recommend. And Acid Bath said, fuck it, we're not going to sign with Century Media. We're going to hold on until the next thing. And then they hear from fucking Roadrunner Records, okay? Roadrunner has signed bands like Gojira, Typo Negative, Slipknot, Opeth. They're huge. So they hear from Roadrunner, and the rep says, you know what? I'm going to come down to Louisiana, because I'm pretty sure he was working with Exhorder at the time. He's like, I'm going to get two birds stoned at once. I'm going to come see a show, and we'll go from there. And that's just what he does. He comes out to a show, and Sammy Douay still talks about this, stating he has no idea what the fuck happened. But the guy fell asleep during Acid Bath's set. And he says to the band, I can't sign you guys if I'm falling asleep during your set. And allegedly, years down the road, he told Sammy Douay, why am I so white? All right. And then allegedly, years down the road, he actually told Sammy Douay that was the biggest mistake of his whole career, not signing Acid Bath, which I couldn't agree with you more, sir. You done fucked up. And then they hear from Rotten Records, the dude comes down, they're hanging out, they make up a contract, they're young, they're eager, they want to be signed, and they sign away, and you can now thank Rotten Records for the whole reason none of their discography is on YouTube, and it wasn't on Spotify until like a year or two ago. And in 1994, they released When the Kite String Pops with the infamous Pogo the Clown art on the front. Apparently back then this caused a lot of controversy, and Rotten Records released a statement saying, this is America, and you should be able to do whatever it is you want. And then in 1996, they went on to release my favorite, Pagan Terrorism Tactics. In the documentary Slow Southern Steel, Sammy Douay goes on to talk about how nobody gave two pisses about Acid Bath. They put no promotion into that band, and somehow everybody knows about them. It's because they're so sick. And just as it seems, the band is ramping up into more things. On January 23rd of 1997, their bassist Audie Pitry was killed in a car accident with both of his parents, and the only survivor was his younger brother. They were hit by a drunk driver who was ultimately charged with 3 counts of manslaughter. Audie also had another band called Shroom, and they only have one release. It's called Red Devils and Purple Ringers. It came out in 1997, and if I'm being honest, I don't even know if he survived to see the album be released, but it's one of my favorite albums of all time. Just 2 bass guitars and a drum. So fucking psychedelic, crusty, doomy, and just all around wicked. Shortly after Audie's death, Acid Bath decides to call it quits, and they play their last show on April 25th of 1997 with the band Crowbar and Floodgate, and they had their buddy Joseph Fontenot fill in on bass. And then years down the road, it's 2014 and rumors start to fly that there's going to be a third Acid Bath album. It's going to be called Killer Rat Poison, and Corey Taylor from fucking Slipknot is going to be doing vocals. But Sammy Duet hopped on this real quick, squashed it, and said, there is no Acid Bath without Audie. And that's what I fucking got. I'm sure there's so much more that's happened within the span of their little tiny discography of 2 albums and 1 demo. But I love that 2 album and 1 demo discography, and I'm very grateful for it. I didn't know any of this before this, so if there's other bands that you want to talk about and learn about, put them in the comments down below, and I will see you next time. Cheers.